Party of Canada and Member of Parliament for Etobicoke Lakeshore, to Dalhousie this afternoon as he embarks on his cross-Canada tour. I'm delighted that Mr. Ignatieff chose to start this tour here in Nova Scotia, for our province serves as an excellent representation both of the promise and as well the obstacles facing post-secondary system in this country. Nova Scotia is in a unique position of housing 11 post-secondary institutions that are doing world-class research and making significant contributions toward fashioning the kinds of flexible, highly skilled people that will shape our country and world in the years to come. And yet, this extraordinary potential is tempered by certain limitations in our post-secondary system, which leave my fellow students and myself greatly concerned. Nova Scotia is said to be a net importer of students, setting us apart from most other provinces. Although this is a great thing, the federal funding distribution formula, which is calculated on a per capita basis as opposed to a per student basis, has created challenges for education in Nova Scotia and left our institutions and government underfunded. This leaves Nova Scotian taxpayers with the added responsibility of supporting a large number of out-of-province students that attend school here. Nova Scotia graduate students do not have access to provincial research funding and therefore solely rely on federal funding to do the type of research that gives Dalhousie its name. This means our graduate students are in heavy competition with students from the rest of Canada and have nothing but obstacles with trying to compete their masters or PhDs. Nova Scotia is also experiencing a decline in the number of domestic students entering post-secondary education. The only exception to this is First Nation students. However, First Nation students face chronic underfunding as a result of the continued 2% funding increase cap on their primary source of student assistance. This leaves barriers and many First Nation students within Nova Scotia unable to attend our universities and colleges. Thankfully, Mr. Ignatieff is not a stranger to the world of academics and post-secondary education and the challenges that face students in Nova Scotia and challenges across Canada, and has spoken often about the need to build a knowledge society that emphasizes what you know and prepares its citizens to be entrepreneurs of opportunity. As a student and as the President of the Union, I welcome these comments, as well as his decision to dialogue with students across our country, and I am looking forward to hearing his perspective on what I've outlined, the issues affecting you as Canadians, and his vision for the future. It is now my pleasure to welcome the leader of the Liberal Party of Canada, Mr. Michael Ignatieff.
Wow, good to see you. They told me there'd be about 25 people, so I'm surprised and delighted. It's very, very nice of you to come out. I want to let everybody know who's come out today how much I appreciate your presence, and because we're 360, some days I'm going to have my back to you, some days I'm going to be in the front. We'll just have to get used to that. But let me tell you why I'm here. I want to talk about the future of the country. And the right place to talk about the future of the country is with the people who are going to be the future of the country. And I want to talk a little bit about politics. A lot of cynicism about politics, a lot of disillusion about politics, a lot of staying away from politics as a result. And so it feels pretty good if you're a proud politician to see a full room. Some of my parliamentary colleagues are here. They're very shy, modest people, so I'm not going to draw attention to them, but they're here, and these shy, modest people feel about as good about this as I do. So, but I want to start with a statistic that I think has troubled me, and I think troubles you, which is that at the last federal election, of all the first-time voters who could vote, who turned 18 and could vote in October 2008, only 1 in 5 of those people actually turned out. And if you look over 50 years, in 1960, something like 80% of the Canadian population participated in federal elections. and now the number's below 60%. So Canada, we have a problem. We have a problem about engagement with the political system. And what's great about this room is you're here because you are engaged. We've got to think about all the people who are not in the room, who are not engaged, who are not involved. I've got responsibilities as a political leader to do something about that. And you've got responsibilities. Your responsibility is basically, it's your country. If you've had the privilege and opportunity of university education, as pretty well everybody in this room has done, then you've got an obligation to your country to put back, to be involved, to be committed, to be engaged. And then I've got a responsibility as a political leader to give you something to believe in. That's how it works. It's a double responsibility. And I've got to work with my parliamentary colleagues to give you a vision of the country that you can debate, you can argue, you can feel something about. That's what I can do to get those participation numbers up, to get people feeling, yeah, this is my country, this guy, this team's got a vision, they've got a vision, let's have a debate. And when that starts to happen, then the participation numbers begin to come up, because it's really about Canada and what we feel about it, and what we believe about it. Let me give you a sense, and I'm not here to spend the afternoon talking to you, I'm actually here to listen, and in about 2 minutes I'm going to stop, and then we're going to go to the mics. But when I think about the challenges the country faces and the new world we're in, here's what I think. We're not just in a recession. We're in a restructuring of the global economy. And that changes everything for you. Some of the jobs we've lost don't come back. That's what a restructuring means. And we're in a new world. And it's hard to put our fingers around that world and get a sense of it, but here are a few ideas that I have about what makes the world new. First of all, carbon has a price. We've all discovered you can't use the atmosphere as a garbage dump, because if you do, it'll have catastrophic effects on our climate. So carbon has a price. Governments have to set a carbon price, whether it's cap and trade or carbon tax or whatever. We think cap and trade will be the way to go. But whatever we do, our economic future will be defined by a price on carbon. Second constraint, which we don't talk about very much, but it's important for Canada, is that energy's going to be more and more expensive. We're an energy superpower, but energy's going to cost more. The long-term trends are clear. That means we have to become energy efficient, energy conservers, developers of new forms of energy. Tidal in Nova Scotia, just to take one example. The other constraint that's going to be very important is that the dollar, the Canadian dollar, is going to be high. We spent 40, 50 years building a manufacturing sector on a cheap dollar. Well, as you know, in life, no good deed goes unpunished. And so the fact that we've done pretty well as an economy, and our fiscal fundamentals, thanks to liberal governments, are pretty good. You notice that little party political thing. Because our fiscal fundamentals, the ones inherited by this government, which they haven't done such a good job with, because those fiscal fundamentals are good, the dollar is going to be high. That means that some of the advantages we have with a cheap dollar are gone. Another part of the new world we're facing is that we used to have the advantage of living next door to the most dynamic market in the world, the United States, and now the most dynamic markets in the world are China, India. So it's a different world. That advantage we have of being just next door to the States. The 21st century, and I love the United States, I don't care who knows it, but the 21st century may not belong to the United States the way the 20th century did. That has huge implications for where Canada looks for market advantage and growth and jobs and ideas.